In the Black Hills of South Dakota, back roads lead to many places. In November 2001, near the town of Keystone, Calumet Road led to Gareth and Lisa Patton's Blue Wing Resort and 28 lions, tigers, leopards, and a mountain lion.
Well, when you first drove up to take a look, tell me what you saw.
I saw no perimeter fence. I saw cages that were the same as these, only reinforced a little bit better. Security was definitely an issue. There was no locks on any of the cages. They had one individual taking care of all 28 cats, which is a safety issue by itself. And the owner doesn't even live in the state. He just is housing his cats here.
What about the condition of the animals?
They were very thin. I'm not used to working with large cats, but based on their body structure and bone structure, it didn't look right to me. I knew we needed to get somebody in here that knew what was going on.
What were you feeling inside when you saw all these big cats?
Sick. How anybody could do this to these animals, they have no business being caged up to begin with.
This afternoon, the Humane Society of the Black Hills took possession of 28 large cats, consisting of 19 tigers, 6 lions, 2 leopards, and 1 cougar. The animals were brought to this area near Keystone on November 7th for a 2.5-year stay. But the Humane Society alleges the owner abused and neglected these large cats.
We apprehended or impounded the animals for their safety and for public safety, since the compound is not secured.
According to the Humane Society, the animals are forced to stay in unsuitable cages and fed rotten meat every 2 to 3 days. In addition to the neglect, the animals are also in need of medical attention.
They're going to need anything from surgery to medications. It's a totally a bad picture. You have certain animals that are hurting beyond what we could even imagine because they've got toenails growing out through their feet.
The owner has not been formally charged, but could face up to 28 counts of animal neglect. For now, the 7 cubs will be released to a wildlife sanctuary in Keystone. As for the rest of the cats, their future home is still yet to be decided.
We have some wildcat experts in the area that will be assisting us, since this is a whole new field that we're wandering into here. But the cats are the main priority right now.
Near Keystone, Justin Wickersham, KNBN, News Center 1.
The quarter-acre site was carved out of a rocky hillside at an old mining claim at the Patton place. Flimsy fences and the sides of the hill were the only perimeter security should any of the big cats escape from their jury-rigged cages. 3 freezers full of spoiled and tainted meat was all the owner left the caretaker with, except instructions to only feed the cats once every 3 days. This, along with deteriorated health condition of the big cats, was a serious concern to us. There was no water source for the big cats at the site, other than what was manually hauled up the hill from the Patton's residence. We found the water buckets and pans crushed, bent, upside down, dirty, and mostly empty. What water there was in some of the cages was frozen by the below freezing night temperatures. The cats were not only hungry, they were thirsty too. Primitive is perhaps the best description of the conditions. These 28 magnificent big cats had been left in. The floors of their cages was the raw frozen soil, muddy, rocky, cold, littered with fecal matter and pooled urine. Their paws were caked with mud, their coats lusterless, and by anyone's standards, their environment at the site was life-threatening, inhumane, and criminal. The South Dakota State Veterinarian had visited the site, but now this situation had gone to the federal level, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture Animal Plant Health Inspection Service became involved due to the fact that these cats were used for public exhibition and came under federal regulation. Veterinarian Dr. Ruth Baker, investigators Don Borchert and Larry Neustel were horrified at the health condition of the cats, inadequacy of the site, and crowded cages. The process for confiscation of the 28 animals was started through the regional office and the Humane Society was given care, custody, and control of the large felines.
Look at him, he's pushing on the top. Did you see that? Okay, that's enough. That's enough, you guys. I've seen enough. Let's go.
The Humane Society accepted the responsibility, rolled up its sleeves, and went to work. With the help of the media, appeals for meat, rice, and chicken were made. The response was almost overwhelming. Bear Country and the Intertribal Bison Cooperative donated over 6,000 pounds of meat. Citizens brought chicken, rice, deer meat, and hay for the cages. The Humane Society staff and citizen volunteers worked day and night in poor weather for the security and welfare of the big cats. Additional cages were constructed to alleviate the crowded conditions. Existing cages were beefed up and tarps were fastened to the cages to block the frigid winds. Animals were moved, cages were cleaned and filled with generous amounts of fresh straw. We now had happier cats, and it was time to address the big cat's immediate and serious health needs. Of the many health problems we had on our hands, Kovu, a 2-year-old lion, was the most serious. Kovu suffered from enteritis, dehydration, and rickets due to malnutrition. We struggled with the tiger, Little Shere Khan. This 3-year-old Bengal had been limping and trying to keep the weight off his right front leg. Dr. Stonecipher checked for a foreign object in his paw, took x-rays, and prescribed antibiotics. Nala, a lioness coming into heat, had been caged with Little Shere Khan, an intact male tiger. In resisting the tiger's advances, Nala suffered several bites to her tail, one of which was severe. 3 of the Bengal tigers had infected and oozing paws, which was a result of a poorly done declawing and no antibiotic follow-up. 2 of the lion cubs were showing early signs of rickets and malnutrition due to a lack of protein in their diet. With the security, comfort, and nutritional needs of the big cats taken care of, it was time to take care of the most pressing medical issues. We loaded Kovu, Nala, and Little Shere Khan into a horse trailer at the site and transported them to Dakota Hills Veterinary Clinic. Dr. Curtis Stonecipher and his staff were ready for the 2 lions and the tiger. Safety of the personnel involved in the unloading and medical treatment of these 3 large cats was paramount. Dr. Stonecipher administered a tranquilizer to Kovu using a jab stick. A second dose was required to ensure the seriously ill young lion was fully sedated. Unloading a limp 300-pound lion on manpower and financial resources. A number of calls went out for possible sanctuaries for the big cats. Thanks to networking by another Humane Society, arrangements were made for the transfer of 13 lions and tigers to Carol Asvestos Wild Animal Orphanage in San Antonio, Texas. On the chilly morning of December 4th, 2001, the Humane train arrived at the site along with a crew from National Geographic Society. They were doing a video program on privately owned big cats. News reporters from all 3 Rapid City stations and 1 from the Sioux Falls station were also present. Carol Asvestos lost no time getting things organized and giving instructions to the participants.
Any accidents that happen on this property, police is liable for. It's her property, she can get sued. The authorities will charge her with problems. We don't want that happening. And we don't want any animals suffering because of human stupidity. So we're going to lay some rules down. Number 1, when we move these transporters off the trailer, I just need 4 people in with me, and that'll be Michelle, Troy, myself, and Shirley. If we need some help, we're going to call you one at a time, so it's organized. Before we leave, we're going to try and get you some rake holes, cut holes for meat, so nobody has to put a hand in cage. And after that happens, if anybody has to go in this compound, if I personally see anybody putting a hand in cage, we're going to have to leave. And that's bottom line, there should be no hands in these cages when it happens. It's dangerous, it's stupid, and these animals don't need it, and you certainly don't need accidents out here.
Tranquilizer darts were prepared in the event a lion or tiger got loose or became unmanageable. National Geographic photographers were there to capture every moment of the preparations. For Carol Asbestos and her crew, who had made the 1,000+ mile journey, it was time to select the 13 cats who would make the Freedom Ride to the Wild Animal Orphanage in San Antonio, Texas. With a selection of the animals that were going, crews rolled the humane train transport cages in, and the transfer process started. Cage after cage was rolled in, filled with big cats, then rolled out to the waiting trailer. The big cats, aware of the large crowd of people milling around and the change in what had become daily routine, watched the activity apprehensively. Other transfers were a bit more difficult, with the tigers unwilling to move into unfamiliar cages. Safety of the people and the cats was a primary concern. Finally, with the help of many people, all 13 lions and tigers were loaded into the large trailer, named the Humane Train, for their trip to their new home.
The Wildcats held near Keystone now have a much brighter future ahead of them in Texas. They're headed to a sanctuary in San Antonio. Dana Brewick has the story.
Appalling. That's how the new caretaker of these exotic cats describes the conditions here. But she says the steel cages will soon be replaced by quarter-acre natural enclosures for each cat. The cats are now headed to a Texas refuge where Carol Asbestos oversees the welfare of some 600 animals.
They're going to have a wonderful time. It's going to be warm, tons of trees, and lots of excellent care.
In the 2 weeks since animal control officers seized the cats, many changes have been made to improve the living conditions here. As for the cats that remain, they'll likely head out within the next few weeks. But for former caretaker Steve Mitchell, the cat's departure is bittersweet.
Mixed emotions. You know, I've grown to love them, but at the same time, it's a good thing. So, I mean, I'm glad to see it happen, I guess.
Asbestos estimates the cost of the rescue at nearly $200,000, a hefty price for an organization dependent on public donations. But she says the ordeal offers a valuable lesson.
And the people that exploit these animals, that allow children and adults to have photographs taken with them, the people that are participating in that need to look behind the scenes and see this is what those animals suffer through in order for them to have a photograph taken for $5. It's wicked.
But the trip's not yet over for the 9 cats still here. They will rejoin the rest when the Humane Train returns. Dana Brewick, KEVN, Fox 7 News, near Keystone.
There were 11 big cats remaining at the site. Time, costs, and increasingly cold weather was a concern. We received a call from Carol Asbestos advising us that she would not be able to pick up the remaining cats until at least January 16th. This, considering all factors including the welfare of the cats, was not acceptable. A call was made to Mr. Nick Sulak of Big Cats of Serenity Springs, a sanctuary at Calhan, Colorado. Nick had previously taken the lion Simba after Carol Asbestos declined to take him and recommended he be euthanized.
The male lion, so anybody's got any problems with the male lion, I have highly recommended the male lion that's on his own be euthanized. 2 reasons. 1, he's on his own. He's going to have to live his life on his own. 2, he's aggressive and he's a danger to the public and the people who work around him. Those are the reasons I'm recommending it. Not my decision to make, it will be up to the Humane Society, whoever owns these animals right now. But I would not put that animal at my sanctuary. So.
To the Humane Society of the Black Hills, this was not an option. Nick agreed to take the remaining cats and said he would be up within a week to get them. As promised, Nick Sulak showed up bright and early with an eager crew of experienced people ready to move the big cats. Don Borkert, an inspector from the USDA Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, was on site to watch the loading. The horse trailer was backed in, then filled with hay for the comfort of the cats. Darren Sewell started moving panels and opening gates so the big cats could be funneled into the trailer. When all the security panels were put in place and the door to the trailer opened, the gate to the 3 Bengal tigers' cage was removed. One after another, they exited the cage and went right into the trailer that would take them to Colorado. Boomer the lion was the last to go, and if one can imagine a grown African lion being scared, that was exactly the situation. Boomer hid behind his kennel and would not move. Dealing with a frightened lion requires a huge amount of caution. Coaxing and turkey legs were not getting the job done. With Darren Sewell at the back of the cage soothing Boomer Barriers to expedite his movement into the trailer were set up. Finally, Boomer got the message and made his exit into the trailer. With Boomer loaded, the last of the Keystone Cats left the site. With the big cats gone, we close this chapter in the history of the Humane Society of the Black Hills with a twinge of sadness. Deb Sullivan, who had given so many hours of her own time to these animals, perhaps said it best in an interview.